Vera Bradley stuff lasts so long. Like I still have a Vera Bradley duffel bag that I got when I was in 7th grade that I still use for trips currently.
That was the bag that I brought to Misha, was a Vera Bradley bag. Like that's what I packed my
Vera
things in
Bradley duffel bag.
because reduce, reuse, recycle, and also it's still good. Like it's been years and it's still like a decent quality. I love it. She will be buried with me. Like that's where
I will be buried in my Vera Bradley duffel bag.
Yep, and while you're at it, throw the blanket in too. Like
throw the blanket in. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what year was I in 7th grade? I was 10 in 2006, so probably 2009, which was like peak Vera Bradley time.
Yes,
by the way. So yeah, I've had that bag since 2009, and
going strong.
Yeah. Anyway, do you want to kick us off?
Let's do this. Welcome to Tell Me About It, a podcast by SLPs for everybody. My name is Francie.
And my name is Maggie.
It's not an After Dark episode, but it well could be.
First of all, it's nighttime. Oh, Diamond! Go lay down in your bed, sweetie. Okay, she's not going to do that. She eventually will probably mosey on over, but anyway, yeah, it is nighttime. So, well, it's evening. Come on. Come on. We can't do this the whole night, Diamond. That really hurt my arm. You're so poorly behaved. You're so poorly behaved. I wish if I could pull her up on my lap, I would, but this chair is like a spinny chair and she's too big for that. So,
and also I was going to say with Love and Light, she's like what, like a 60-pound dog or something?
Almost. Like yeah. It would be a lot. I have gotten her on my lap in this chair before. Diamond. But it was not comfortable for either of us. Can you stop, please? You go lay down in your bed. Go on. Okay. She's probably going to be, I'm going to just try to ignore her if I turn like this.
Yeah.
She just huffed at me. So. Oh, well. Okay.
Sassy dog.
Yeah. Anyway, as we were saying, the chaotic vibes are vibing tonight. It's the evening. It's the end of a work day. And I think we're both just kind of not feeling fresh as a daisy, so to speak.
Yeah. Anyways, but I am excited for what we're talking about today, which is a while ago, we did a video talking about Out of My Mind and kind of disability in media. And we're back talking about another movie centering the disabled experience, which is Patrice, the movie.
Yes. Oh, this movie was so good.
It was so good.
I really loved it.
It was stunning. Lots of reasons to love it. Do you want to do a quick overview of like what was it about, Maggie?
Yeah, so a little background. This is a documentary that came out in 2004. So I'm not sure when it was filmed, presumably not too like long before 2004, too far from it. Or 2024. Did I say 2004 twice?
Sure did.
Guys. Let me start over.
Scratch.
Patrice the movie is a documentary that came out in 2024 and was filmed, I believe, shortly before it premiered in 2024. It follows a woman named Patrice and kind of just shows us about her life. The central, I would say like kind of point of the movie first is talking about her relationship with her partner, Gary. Patrice and Gary are both disabled adults. They want to get married, but they can't, because if they did get married, then they would potentially lose, or not potentially, like, oh, it might happen, almost certainly lose their Medicare and Medicaid benefits, which pay for a lot of the things they need to literally survive. So a lot of the documentary centers around this commitment ceremony that they're planning for each other in lieu of a wedding, which is very bittersweet. And then I think about halfway through the documentary, the Patrice's van breaks down, and her van is disability accessible. Her partner Gary is a wheelchair user, and then she also has a job as a crossing guard that she has to drive to. So they need a car. Pretty much everybody in America needs a car, but they also need a car that is wheelchair accessible for Gary. So they look into buying a new one, and they are astronomically expensive. And the big gut punch is that because she is drawing Social Security, she cannot, like for disability, she cannot have more than $2,000 in her bank account. $2,000. And she makes a point in the documentary saying that if she goes $1 over, she could lose everything. And again, these are benefits that she needs to just kind of go about her life. So yeah, this definitely stirred up a lot of feelings of rage.
I texted Maggie as I am watching, and I think I spent like 75% of the movie in tears, whether that was tears from the joy that she is expressing, because I am fun fact about Francie, I cry at everything. And so whether it was she was talking about joys that she's experienced, the frustration that comes from this, the rage that I feel, I literally, I think I cried for like an hour while watching this.
I am also a crier. I was saying earlier before we started recording, I was surprised I didn't cry as much, but I certainly was filled with rage. I kept pausing the movie to go and like tell my husband. He wasn't watching it with me, so I would like go into the other room and be like, "Did you know this?" like and so
stomp back to the TV.
Yes, and stomp back and be like, "Can you believe this?" Throughout the documentary too, they kind of intersperse these little like vignettes that told a little bit of like Patrice's childhood and her story up until the point where they're filming. And we can talk more in detail about those as we kind of review this, because I thought those were done in a way that was really poignant and special and artful and very cool. So I was a huge fan, but yeah. Where do you want to start with this? There's so many things.
There were so many things to digest about this movie, and there were so many things that I enjoyed and thought were really special about it. Not just from the disability advocacy standpoint, but from like the artistic storytelling standpoint too, because those vignettes were powerful. Patrice is an artist, and she does a lot of comic work, and the set style for these vignettes were very reminiscent of her art.
As almost well, like a graphic novel.
Very graphic novel-y, graphic novel-y. And so,
but in a really sweet, almost kind of nostalgic way. Not like a manga graphic novel, like a very like nostalgic is kind of the way that I felt about it.
And so to see, and she starred in the vignettes as herself. And so they contrasted her with all of the other characters being children and also children with disabilities. And so to listen to her tell her story of her childhood with other kids who are currently kids with disabilities, it was just a really, one, visually stunning because the art was just fun. Two, I just feel like it was a really impactful way to do storytelling for that.
I really agree. I liked in those vignettes, like you said, all of the other kind of major characters in Patrice's story were at the time adults, because they were telling stories from Patrice's childhood and early adulthood. Patrice now is in her early 60s, I believe. Isn't that right? Yeah, anyway, the other kind of major players in these stories who were adults at the time were played by children, which I thought was, I don't know, the contrast was just really cool. I thought it was kind of unique. And yeah, Patrice played herself at like all of these different points in her life. So yeah, it was just neat. I hadn't really ever seen anything like that before. So very cool.
I agree with that. I haven't seen like storytelling done like that in a documentary before. And I just really liked it. So yeah, I just really liked it.
Well, that is kind of the overview. Obviously, this whole episode is about this movie, so it is going to be spoiler fest. So if you want to go watch the movie and then come back and listen to this so that it's not spoiled, then good on you. But do you want to just kind of like start from the beginning and talk our way
Yeah.
through it?
Let's do it. Let's start at the beginning, which is where I started crying. I very first scene is discussing Patrice and her partner Gary, and they are like a skating team for Special Olympics, and so they ice skate together. Immediately, I start crying because I don't know, Maggie, if you were like this. I am the person that when I see people doing things that they love, I cry. Like I cry at concerts, and like I cry when people present their research because I'm like, wow, you're just so passionate. I am just a puddle of tears at any given point in time.
I'm like any strong emotion crier. So if I'm overwhelmed by happiness, I cry. If I'm overwhelmed by like, especially like hope and optimism, that really gets me. Especially in like movies and documentaries like this. So I completely understand. But yeah, her and Gary kind of killed it. It was really, really cool.
It was so cool. Also, I can't ice skate for shit. So,
No.
Anyways, yeah, no, couldn't be me. But
I took kind of stream of consciousness notes throughout watching this. And I took the note, my mom would call Patrice a quote fun hog. Like I don't know exactly what she means by that, but
like she's just a person who has so much fun. Like, yeah, share
like
some for the rest of us.
Yes, like not any help or not any fun for the rest of us. So it showed her doing ice skating with the Special Olympics, but also there were quite a few other like really active sports or just activities that she also seems to partake in quite often or participate in, which is really cool.
Craft queen, first of all.
Yes.
It showed her, she makes miniatures and does like miniature scenes and like not model trains, but something very similar with like model towns and things like that. There were several crafts where I was like, dang girl, you can craft, because I'm a craft queen and I love a hobby, and she had so many and I loved it.
Yes. Yeah, that was really cool. So Patrice seems like a really, really just like special and interesting person, like a great subject of a documentary, because I want to know more.
Right? I'm like, I got to the end of that and I was like, my life would be better if Patrice was in it. Like that, she seems like such a fascinating and fun person.
Yeah. So Patrice the Fun Hog is, I believe during the documentary, they celebrated her 59th birthday, I think. So she is in her early 60s now, which means she was born and was a young child in the 70s. And I took the note, Black and disabled and a woman in the 70s. She went through it. Some really, really rough stuff for Patrice growing up.
And I caught when she was doing one of these vignettes talking about how when she started kindergarten, her mom made it very clear to her that she needed to mask and blend in as much as possible because they didn't know what life would be like for Patrice. And that ripped my heart out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think that another thing that I thought about, especially near the end when we kind of learn a little bit more about Patrice's mom, was just like the generational trauma of it all. And yeah, I mean, she was instructing Patrice to behave that way because she wanted her daughter to be safe. Even though we know that that can cause, some emotional and kind of psychological damage too. But it seemed like she was really doing it to protect Patrice in a world that was not going to protect her for a number of reasons. So, something else I noticed was that her mom, Patrice's mom, worked as a janitor at Willowbrook, which, did that like ring a bell for you, France?
It did, but it blipped on my radar, and then I was like, I know what that is, and then I forgot to Google it.
Yeah. So Willowbrook is kind of a famous institution for severely disabled people because of its inhumane and awful treatment of disabled people that were institutionalized there. So there was a really famous expose. Geraldo Rivera did a really famous expose, I think in the 80s, where they went inside Willowbrook and filmed and did a piece on it. And it is tragic. It's a really, really tough watch, but an extremely important part of disability history in the States, because for me, it serves as kind of this ever-present reminder that we are not far from institutions like Willowbrook being commonplace. And that there probably are places that look more like Willowbrook today than are, different from it. So that I was surprised by that, like immediately kind of like perked my ears up, and I was like, whoa, the Willowbrook? That is crazy. No wonder she was so scared that her daughter would be institutionalized.
Oh, that's devastating. Now that you have put those pieces back together for me, I remember learning about this in undergrad and grad school through some of our ethics courses. Yeesh.
Yes. It's very dark. But I think it's really important for anyone who works with disabled people to know about. So Patrice does go to school. She how would you describe her time in school, especially in the early years?
It had to be incredibly frustrating for her. Yeah. And one of the things that she mentioned was like, I got violent. Like I used my hands to figure things out because I was frustrated and I didn't have the words. And I know so many kids who are probably in a very similar situation. And so it was hearing her verbalize that and feel that way. It reminds me of some of the kids I serve on my caseload where I'm like, gosh. And so it had to be very frustrating for her.
And she was isolated pretty thoroughly. Yeah. She was in not in a specialized classroom or a specialized program at first. She was just in like gen ed kindergarten.
Right. And one of the things that she had mentioned is that she did not know anything was different about her until other kids started pointing it out. Which once again talks about like kids can be so tough and so mean, and also our views on disability and how we teach our kids to view disability, I mean, truly has profound impacts. And so if you grow up and you are somebody who is not familiar with disability or hateful about disability, and you say that around your kids, like their kids are going to be mean. Ugh.
Yeah. And I think, so Patrice was pretty horrifically bullied. They went into that. Kids would throw set pieces of paper on fire and throw them at her in like the bathroom stall, and, were violent, and it's really awful. And I think that kids, I feel like it's human nature. I don't know if it's human nature, but a pattern that I have noticed in humans is that we tend to get really violent really quick with things that we don't understand.
With things that are outside of our sphere.
And so when the thing that you don't understand is a disability or a person who is presenting either because of, signs and symptoms of said disability, or for other reasons, maybe cultural or religious, etc., presenting really differently than you, kids just get bad. They get violent. They get hateful, the othering. They get hateful. The othering begins so early. And that leads to, it can lead to a vicious cycle. It can feed into all sorts of behavioral problems. It plays a role in the kind of like school to confinement pipeline. So, which Patrice herself did spend some time in juvie, in juvenile detention.
Yeah.
And then later on, she spent some time, I believe, in jail. She was in jail
I think she was institutionalized. They had some type of domestic between her and her mother, and they ended up placing her in an institution for, I believe, 2 years.
That sounds right to me. I think she just went to jail, or or prison. I don't think that even at that point she was really in like a specialized institution. They didn't really get into the specifics though, so we're not sure. It was some type of incarceration. So yeah, Patrice definitely has that kind of as a part of her story as well. And I'm really glad that she was able to share it in this way, because it is echoed in the stories of so many other people with disabilities. So, but the good news is, and Francie, I would love for you to talk about kind of your viewing experience when Patrice finally she went to juvie for a little while, then went back to school and started in a special education program.
She talked, I don't know if anybody else ever feels this way about like, I don't know if the impact that I'm doing working in special education actually means anything to the kids. Like, am I actually doing anything? And so when Patrice said that getting into special education was the best thing that's ever happened to her, she actually made friends for the first time, and that it really made a huge difference in her life. That is when I proceeded to go from crying to sobbing, because I was like, okay, if it is meaningful and it makes a difference in people's lives, and holy mackerel, it is so good to hear that like it was such a positive experience for her. I get focused on the negative stories with SPED. And so to hear her be like, no, this was fabulous. And I met some of the most precious friendships of my life through other kids. And it was great to be with other kids who were like me. And she found deep amounts of community there. Holy crap. Yeah, like I said, sobbing, pause, snot. It was not a pretty look. Like, I was like, what's wrong with me? Anyways, it was lovely. And I'm so glad that it was such a positive experience for her. Because as a provider watching this, that's what I hope that my impact is, because I just want to make somebody's life easier and better. And so for her to hear that it was that way, I was like, wonderful.
Yes, I'm totally with you. That was definitely like kind of a breath of fresh air for me too. This is not at all meant to be like a poor me statement, or like I'm not trying to center myself in my experience at all. But I will say that especially being like in kind of the social media and online sphere as we are with this podcast, and just with some other stuff, like it is really easy to hear the bad stories. It's really easy, especially being a part of these systems, it's really easy to see how they are rotten and broken, and how they do not stand to serve the people that they claim they're serving. That kind of comes to be, at least for me, like the air that I breathe. So when I hear that someone has a really good experience with a therapist, or with a certain type of therapy, or with a school, or with special education, I'm like, oh, good. Okay, it's not all horrible. Like, it's not all bad. There is some good that's being done here, and some support. So yeah, that was nice to hear. I think that she also talked about how when she was in special education, she started to draw, and how that was really cathartic
Powerful.
and therapeutic for her. Yeah. So
I had a moment with that where I was like, shout out to multimodality therapies, because art therapists, love you.
Yes.
That's all.
I have never had the privilege to work, actually like co-treat or work on a team with an art therapist or a music therapist. I really want to, because I'm very curious about those therapies.
I am very curious about those therapies. I've had the privilege of knowing several music therapists, and they're lovely. And I've never had the chance to work with an art therapist, but I'm so fascinated by the work that they do. And so once again, I was like, this is why we need so many like related professional type things in the therapy world, because it was so powerful for her, and something that she was still doing in her life. So it was like something, leisure is not something that we focus on very much in special education, and we should. And so the fact that she was taught something that was rewarding for her and felt like something that was such a wonderful outlet for her in leisure time, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I feel like what we do in our spare time, our leisure activities, are oftentimes such a big part of our personalities, and something that brings us such immense joy. Off mic earlier, you and I had our husbands in here on screen talking to each other and us about the card game Magic the Gathering, something that they love. And brings
are
them a lot of
trying
joy.
and are trying very hard to get us to love. So,
Yeah.
but brings them a lot of joy, and everybody needs a hobby. And so I was
Yeah.
like, love that.
Like, just imagine your life if all you did was go to school and go to work and then go home and you don't really have anything to do. Like, you don't, I mean, even I know that sometimes it's hard to find, like, having leisure time is a privilege for sure, but not even something that interests you. Like, have never had your personal interests poured into and kind of encouraged and nurtured. Yeah, so I thought that was really special too. I'm glad they highlighted that. Okay, a quote that I typed out was, "What's wrong with the system is that people think people with disabilities have no value."
Speak
And
on it, Maggie.
I would like to talk about this for a
I
moment.
would love to talk about this. The thing that I keep coming back to throughout this entire movie is the perspectives that are enshrined in policy that are so degradatory to people with disabilities, like truly viewing them as less than human. And nothing makes my blood boil more than that. So I'm so glad you're highlighting this quote, because holy mackerel.
Yeah, it is. This is this is a hill that I will die on. People do not have to contribute, quote unquote, contribute to society to have worth and value as a human being. And I think that it is ridiculous that we have set ourselves up in a society that idolizes that so much. And I think you and I are both chronic illness girlies. We've talked about this on the pod before. And on days when you flare up and you don't get anything done, because, well, the only thing you get done is surviving the day. I at least sometimes am crushed by guilt and shame because example, last week I had a migraine. I've been having migraines. It's a recent, relatively new development that I am not happy about.
Uh-oh.
So, I know, not thrilled with that one. Had a horrible migraine. I had to cancel some of my sessions. I basically did nothing all day except for lay on the couch. The one time I left the house, I got into a fender bender because I wasn't like impaired or anything. It was just like the worst day ever. You know, when you have just like so terrible. Anyway, so I was like, that tears it. I'm going home. Like, I went home, like laid on the couch with an ice pack and took some Excedrin and just like by the end of the day, I was like, I feel such shame from being sick. And like, it's not my fault that I have a migraine. And so I hate that this kind of like work ethic, that like productivity above all else is so ingrained in us. And I have a suspicion that it's kind of an American thing. I know other countries probably also, this is culturally relevant for them too, but I think that America probably has a particular problem with it. It would be my guess. But yeah, people are people, and just that fact alone makes them worthy of care and attention. And yeah,
in the depth and breadth of all that life has to offer.
Yes.
And so that's kind of the big like point of this movie, which was even after all of the success that they have, because they do end up getting the van funded. They are able to access the van. Through all of this, they still can't get married. They still can't live in the same house. And what a denial of a very important part of the human experience, which is to love and be loved. And for everybody else, marriage often comes with legal benefits. And so for you to be denied that due to disability is disgusting, like point blank period.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it feels very coercive, because
it's so coercive.
It's not that they're not allowed to get married.
You're allowed to get married. But you're going to lose your disability.
Everything.
Yeah, you just lose access to the things that you need to survive, whether that's medications, whether that's doctor's appointments, whatever. Like, you lose that. What? Yeah. It is very coercive And yeah, while it's not excluding them from being married, it's making it very, very difficult to be able to be.
And, we could do a whole other episode about the myth of the welfare queen. I don't feel like now is necessarily the time, but there is this issue of some people with disabilities or with disabled children have to elect to live in poverty to get medical care for themselves or their child. Because to qualify for, a lot of state or federally funded services, to get access for that, a lot of them are income based. And I don't know if you guys know this about private therapy, but they don't want to pay for stuff. So it's very like Medicare and Medicaid are great because they can get people access to a lot. But for some parts of that, it is like income dependent. So we wind up in the situation where people basically have to live in poverty to access what they need. On top of that, what they talked about in this documentary a little bit, they didn't get super into it. She really just kind of stated this once when they were talking about the car, is that drawing on Social Security benefits, she can't have more than $2,000 in her bank account at any given time, which in today's economy is absolutely wild.
Literally, absolutely wild. No, that makes it like so hard to exist.
One emergency or unforeseen expense is going to wipe you out a lot of the time. And that is so scary.
It's so scary. And if you can't save over that amount, and so you're constantly operating within that amount, it also made me stop and wonder about the like cognitive load that it puts on individuals who are in positions like Patrice. Because if you're oftentimes dealing with disability, you can also have the presence of executive functioning disorder. And Patrice and Gary, were on top of it when it came to budgeting and how much they had and what they needed to do. And that for other people who I know and have worked with would be really hard.
Really, really hard. Yeah. Something that actually makes me think, another kind of point that came out of this is that disability is not a monolith, right?
No.
So unfortunately, the government kind of treats it like one. So when we talk about these things like the coercion of like, you can't get married, you can, but you'll lose everything. Some disabled people are not going to get married. Some people, it is not maybe appropriate because there are issues of consent involved, issues of capacity and ability, and that is just the reality. Some people with disabilities, however, like Patrice and Gary, that's not their reality. That's not the situation. They are two consenting adults who want to share a life. But since the government treats disability as a monolith, they aren't allowed to, which is, I think, something that makes this conversation really hard to have sometimes, especially on social media where hot takes kind of abound. Because you get kind of these two camps. The one kind of like low support needs camp of people who would be able to do things like, get married,
get married, live alone,
have a job, live alone, exactly, manage their own medications, manage their own appointments, etc. And then that kind of like high support needs camp of people who are not going to be able to do those things, and that's just the nature of their disability, and that's the reality. Both of those lived experiences are valid, but it can be really difficult to have a conversation that encompasses both without a lot of care, compassion, and I would say knowledge on disability in general, to be able to have an opinion that is nuanced enough to hold both. So I feel like a lot of times, like, social media is not the place for nuanced opinions. And the internet as a whole certainly is not, but it can even be difficult, just on an interprofessional team with people that in real life and are speaking to face. It can be hard sometimes to give conversations like this the nuance that it deserves. So when it's in the hands of politicians that are not trained in this area and have no medical background, maybe their only interaction with disability is that they have a family member with a disability. That makes me nervous. That makes me really scared. Goodness gracious.
It makes me think of all of the legislation that's going on right now regarding family caregivers and the ability to get paid as a family caregiver. Gosh, anyways, that's also been on my brain a lot lately, which is like, unless you have walked alongside or in the shoes of disability like this, to be making policy decisions without them at the table is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Just wrong. And to not be listening to the voices of people who this is their life day in and out, both from the caregiver side and from the person with a disability side of things. It's just, I don't know. I don't really like the government. If you know me personally, you know that. So anyways, it just makes me deeply sad, disappointed, all of those things.
Yeah. It is really, really upsetting. There was oh, I just am seeing some of my notes about the van. This is not an After Dark episode, so you'll have to bleep this out. But my note was
I've already sworn once.
My note was, why is this mechanic laughing at her? He can get fucked. That guy can kick.
Okay, that whole the way the producer made that whole shot with her just like standing there devastated and him like, haha.
Yeah.
If it was my car.
Like, yes. Yes. He kept saying like, oh, the bottom's completely rotted out of this thing. It's not safe to drive.
It's not safe to drive. Haha. LOL. Like it
didn't sound like awkward laughter. It sounded derisive. Like it didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the fact that they had no background music in that entire shot, and then they let the silence hang between the two of them for long enough to be uncomfortable. It was an important shot because for Patrice, this van is a lifeline. It's to independence. It's to her job. It's to help Gary get around. And so for that to be stripped away.
Well, and it's also to her partner. Something we didn't say before is that Patrice and Gary don't live together.
No.
Because that also puts their benefits in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
So they live separately.
And Gary is a wheelchair user. And so she has an accessible van to get to be with him.
Which is, I want everyone listening to this who is able-bodied, neurotypical, and married, or in a long-term partnership where you live with your significant other, and think about if someone was like, no, you guys actually need to live in separate houses on opposite sides of town and if you don't, you're going to lose your health insurance. Like that. Yeah. It really, really is unfair. And my heart just broke for her. But yeah, so especially when that mechanic was laughing at her, it felt like he was laughing at her. It made me mad. And then private equity caught some strays. I made the note, anyone who works in private equity can get absolutely
absolutely, girl.
I was like, wow. God, the inequity, the disparity of it all. I hate it. Ooh, I would love to hear your opinion on this, Francie, about sheltered workshops or kind of specific workplaces for disabled people.
Yeah. Hey, this goes back to us thinking that disabled people are less than human beings. If you are a business and you pay your disabled workers less than the minimum wage, and I don't know if I'm going to stop and Google something before I say something I might regret. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah. No, good. We should fact check for sure.
Okay. I was right, going on the record of saying.
First of all, I was right.
I
believe you.
Second of all, there are some employers who are legally allowed to pay disabled workers less than the minimum wage.
Yeah.
What? What?
Yeah.
Anyways, so with that, Patrice talks about how she was working at one of these places and she was making like 7 cents per like those little like flags you see at Memorial Day and 4th of July to
The
make
little
those.
American flags with like the wooden stake.
Yeah.
Her job was to glue the gold like pointy piece to the top of it. So very much it's I almost said it's giving sweatshop, and then I was like, Margaret.
It is. Margaret.
It is.
Funny you said that.
I can say it in a way that's less like Gen Z brain rot, but
there you go. Yeah.
It's giving sweatshop. And so I wanted to get your opinion on this because, and this might be a complete other episode topic, which is totally fine. But there are a number of employment options for disabled people, even people with really significant impacts and challenges that are, you know, things that are kind of like this. Like it would be like packing boxes, it would be assembling things that are kind of predictable, routine-based, rote tasks.
Yeah.
But they provide a disabled person a way to make an income.
Yes.
And in my mind, I'm not sure what other than like fair pay, which is like kind of the obvious one here, is that the delineation of like, it's great to have a work environment that is catered towards and geared towards disabled people, as long as they're being compensated fairly. And then there's this where it's like a sweatshop.
Oh, where it's taking advantage of. Like it is taking advantage.
Okay.
Like that's what the shop that Patrice has, and then still to this day some exist where they're just exploiting labor that is cheaper because it is disabled individuals. And
so I know that oh yes, 100%. That is exploitative. And so I know that there's this qualitative difference between inclusion, support, accommodation, consideration, and fair pay, and exploitation. There's a huge qualitative difference there. Is there a legal difference? That's what I'm wondering. Maybe I'll have to look it up. Like, is there something that delineates those two types of environments legally? I just don't know. Maybe
also don't know.
We can look it up and talk about it more later because
now you've got me in a Google hole where I'm like, okay, let's pull this sweater thread.
We'll both go on our Wikipedia rabbit holes and report back. Yes, I'm kind of to the end of my stream of consciousness notes here, but the moment of her getting, like, they had a GoFundMe set up to raise funds for the car, van.
Which another part of her struggle was can't have more than $2,000 in bank account. GoFundMe's count as income. I don't know if you caught this. The first time she was funding her first van, it counted as income and she didn't know that. And so she lost benefits and actually faced homelessness following that.
Oh, so, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So she had to get connected with a nonprofit that would hold the money for her separate from her name so that they could save up the money to buy the car. What?
I am speechless. Because I kind of thought that GoFundMe operated that way. Like, I thought it was kind of like a separate thing.
It is income. It is viewed as income in the eyes of the law.
That's bad, though.
That's bad. That's bad.
Because I'm even just thinking about people that use GoFundMe to raise funds for like medical debt relief.
Yeah.
And so if it looks like, so you have to report that on your taxes.
I believe so.
If you get $100,000 from a GoFundMe, you have to report that you made an extra $100,000 that year. All right.
Well, having one of those moments where I was like, I can't fix everything in one night.
Yes. Oh God, that's awful. I'm laughing so I don't cry, genuinely. One of my other notes was their friend is spitting bars on Capitol Hill.
Okay, what a lady, first of all.
I believe her name is Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, I believe so. Loved the cuts throughout the documentary to her fierce advocacy. She was researching. She was on top of things. And she was not backing down. And I loved seeing her get so passionate about because that's how I feel. So anytime I see somebody else who feels the way I feel, I'm like, yeah.
I know, I'm like birds of a feather.
Birds of a feather, girl. So anyways, it was fun to see her alongside this journey for Patrice and Gary, and her being one such a fierce friend and also advocate. So
Yeah. I also really liked how she advocated for herself and kind of, and I don't know, maybe if she had more support from other individuals. I hope that she did, because it is hard to constantly advocate and accommodate for yourself. But she talked a lot about her sensory needs as an autistic adult. And I thought it was really cool how she kind of accommodated for herself, and like she didn't act like she didn't have sensory needs.
No.
Even when at one point Patrice and some of her friends were donating aluminum cans to get some money, and Elizabeth was saying how the cans were a sensory nightmare for her, but she loves Patrice, and so she's doing this for her friend basically, which I was like, God, if that's not real friendship and real love right there. She wasn't acting like she didn't have an issue with the can. She was saying like, no, I hate this, but I love Patrice. And that is really, really beautiful. So
Really beautiful. And once again, another reason why I'm crying, because genuine, earnest friendships get me. And so much of this movie was just earnest, and being very real and not sugarcoating the pain, but not being shy and highlighting the joy. It was wonderful.
Yeah. This documentary didn't really shy away from a whole lot. I feel like they shined a light on some of the, I want to say like flaws and imperfections, but it's more like gaping, hemorrhaging wounds in our system of care for disabled adults. They're just not supported well. The system isn't set up to support disabled adults well, which is something that even we as pediatric therapists are acutely aware of. So yeah, left me with a feeling of like, oh God, but also like, a lot of hope too.
A lot of hope. She got the van. They had their commitment ceremony. It was wonderful. And so like it ended with messages of hope and action and a call to action, which I love. But yeah, definitely having to hold both the sorrow and the hope at the same time. Yeah. One in each hand.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. I feel like that kind of had final thoughts vibes, but any other final thoughts on?
Watch it. I texted all my friends after I finished watching it. I was like, you need to watch this. Yeah. So fun. Such a great movie. If you care about disability and disability advocacy at all, it's a wonderful movie. Highly recommended it. Did tell my coworkers about it today. So
awesome. Yes, this movie. So I've said before, I went to Mizzou for school. I went to the University of Missouri, which is in Columbia, Missouri, and Columbia has a yearly documentary film festival called True False, and that is where I've seen probably 90% of the documentaries I've ever seen in my life. It's this super unique, like quirky, artsy film festival in my hometown, and I love it. And so this movie, just by nature of it being a really good documentary, made me think of home.
Kind of made you homesick.
Yeah, it made me homesick a little bit. But also it was excellent. And if I had to put together like a Disability in America 101 required viewing, it would be like this movie would be on there. Maybe this and a few other things.
I think this was produced by the same people who produced Crip Camp.
I think so too.
Which is also one of my favorite disability media movies, which should be a required viewing for anybody who works in special education. So
yes. And one that we want to do another one of these episodes on, where we watch Crip Camp and then talk about it like this. Because that one is also excellent. So yeah, this movie was great. We loved it. It is streaming on Hulu. Did you watch it on a different?
I watched it on Hulu. I know you can also, Hulu and Disney have a partnership because once again, private equity and monopolies. But you can watch it either place.
Great. Yes, I watched it on Hulu. It might be streaming on other sites. There is also a website for this. If you Google Patrice the movie, Patrice herself is very active on Facebook. I did find her on Facebook. She posts regularly. So if you're interested in what she's currently up to, you can go find out. Her Facebook page is public. So that was a nice little happy surprise too. I went down like a rabbit hole. I was like, all right, what's this lady up to? Well, this has been Tell Me About It. You can find us to watch or listen on YouTube and Spotify under Tell Me About It and SLP Podcast. And you can follow us on Instagram at Tell Me About It SLP. We will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.